Hey there. Welcome to Toy Talk with Mike and Chad, episode 13. I'm Mike.
I'm Chad.
And the part of our collections that we're going to be talking about today, by the way, and this is Casey. Some of you have met her before. She's going to join us at least for a little while today. So yeah, the part of our collection that we're going to talk about. I think on this episode, I do have some toys here, some new stuff to show you since you were here last. But we've got some toy news we want to talk about. I'm usually not very fast with toy news because toy news happens by the time we get together and talk about it and I do my editing and post it. It's already like 3 or 4 days old news. And that might be the case here. This might be old news by the time you see this.
And there's so much of it coming out.
Yeah. But as we shoot this on Saturday, October 1st, it's I think just the second of 2 days, maybe 3 days, of Hasbro doing their Pulse Con, which is, they do it on their website, Hasbro Pulse. They do this with some regularity. I don't necessarily think it's an annual thing. They just do, whenever they want to do product reveals, they do a Pulse Con where they do live streams. They did one yesterday. They're doing one today. So there'll already be brand new, fresh news coming out after we've had this conversation. So, yeah. Pulse Con aside, I know you've been sending me, like, as you do every week, you send me pictures of new McFarlane DC stuff, because that's your main line.
Yeah. Is
there anything you want to talk about, new reveals as far as multiverse?
Yeah, so he just put out a teaser for the gold label, hey Casey, gold label 5-pack of the Bat family, and that looks pretty decent. The only figure I'm not sure about is the Batman, because, you know, you have one Batman,
But that's, like, so it's a 5-pack of, who is it, Batman, Nightwing?
Red Hood, Batgirl, and Damian Wayne.
Okay. And they all look, like, the Damian Wayne kind of looks like that figure.
Exactly.
Maybe repainted.
His hair is just a bit more kind of pointed out. So, like, where I have some of those figures that are pretty close to that anyway, specifically 2 of the Batgirls that were just recently released with the 3 Jokers and the Gotham Knights video game series that's going to be out soon. I really can't justify.
Because what do you think it'll be, like $150?
Well, at least 150, because they average. Now the price point has gone up too, so they average about $32.99, where we are plus tax.
Yeah.
So that's like $37 a figure almost. And if we're doing 5, I'd say probably $150.
Yeah, and it used to be when they do multi-packs, which I'm not a big fan of. Like the occasional 2-pack and everything is kind of fun. But if a figure is $30 and they package 2 of them together, that pack should be like $50.
Yeah.
Because they're saving money on, like, the packaging. They're roping you in for double the purchase. It doesn't make sense to me. Not only am I seeing multi-packs, you know, like, okay, 30 and 30 and the pack is 60, which is like, okay, well then, thanks for nothing. But sometimes the 2-pack is like 70 or 80.
Yeah.
And it's like, what? Where's this extra? You're already making me buy figure that I don't want. Like, a lot of times, like with you, you've got 1,000 Batman.
Yeah.
You might want the Nightwing and stuff.
Yeah.
But they're forcing you to buy this extra Batman, and then they're charging you a premium, which seems crazy to me. Like, I can't remember if we talked about it a couple episodes ago, but there's this new box set, I think, on Amazon for Marvel Legends, and it's got the Human Fly and Razorback, and all these obscure characters that I appreciate might not sell very well on their own. So they put them in the box set. But then they put a Spider-Man in the set. Like, I don't need another Spider-Man. And they're doing that exact thing where the box set of 5 figures, I think, is like, I can't remember exactly how much it is, but it's like more than 5 figures would have been individually.
Yeah.
It's garbage.
And right now, it's only available for pre-order on Amazon.com, not Amazon.ca. So right away, I'm going to pay more money for the conversion rate and then shipping.
Yeah.
Typically, if they release them on Amazon.com, it takes 5 or 6 months for them to release it on Amazon Canada. So I don't know what I'm going to do about that. I feel the same way. You know, they're just trying to, like, market toys. And in regards to 2-packs, my big thing is having characters that already exist. Like, why would you release them individually and then in a 2-pack and it's the same characters? They did that with the Hush and Batman 2-pack, which I'm probably going to be forced to buy because of my ugly gray Hush figure.
I don't know if you had a chance to talk about this yet, but if you want to quickly rant on that.
So I bought one of the Hush figures from Amazon, and they sent me the gray unpainted one, the platinum version. And
what is it called? The prototype, or is like what's
it's just like a platinum edition, unpainted. Apparently worth more money because it's ultra rare.
Yeah, like I'll post a picture of it here, but like it looks like a half done, like a prototype of the figure where it's just all matte gray.
Yeah,
and you get that. It's one thing if you had the option to buy that. I don't know why anybody would want it necessarily, but the fact that you order it on Amazon and it's in color and then they ship you don't know if you're going to get this all gray version. That's nonsense. But
it's supposedly more valuable, but I don't understand why, because it's ugly. I looked at some of the reviews because I was thinking about returning it.
Yeah.
But every one of the reviews said, good luck trying to return it because Amazon will just send you another gray one in its place.
Yeah.
One guy, I guess, tried it like 3 times, and all 3 times he ended up getting the gray one, so he just stopped buying from Amazon. The other 2-pack is kind of the same thing. It's like Batman Earth 32 with the only way you can get Hal Jordan is the Green Lantern in this McFarlane line, so that's kind of annoying because I already own that Batman.
Yeah.
What else came out with McFarlane? He just revealed the size of the Solomon Grundy.
Yeah, how big is that?
It's kind of disappointing because he's supposed to be this like massive brute, but again, in standard McFarlane.
So is he at least as big as that Bill the Bane, or smaller?
He's as big. He's the same size as Bane.
That seems reasonable to me. But what do I know? I'm not a big Solomon fan. If he's supposed to be much larger than that, but I don't know.
What else happened with McFarlane?
Well,
it seems like he's putting out like 50 new figures a day, and it's getting stressful to keep.
Yeah, every day you send me a message. You're like, look at this one, look at this one. And I actually joined that Facebook group that you're in, just because that way now I have the news as you get it. But you still usually beat me to the punch because I'm not on Facebook all that often. But I'm not so much into the DC multiverse stuff, as you know. I buy the occasional one, but like I am kind of dipping my toe in his Spawn line.
Yes.
Now, I was a little reluctant because I just wasn't, I'd kind of taken a break from both the Spawn toys and the Spawn comic books, but I'm reading all the comics again. I'm buying the toys. So he released some images of some new Spawn figures. Yeah, so there's the 2 cops, Sam and Twitch.
Yeah.
Which I will pass. Like, those guys have been in the comic book since, like, issue 1.
Yeah.
It's a fat cop and a skinny cop. I appreciate, that these guys are key characters, but I never really cared for them all that much. And they are just guys in suits. They look like Commissioner Gordon type of deal. I'm like, I don't really need those guys in my collection. Same as there's a new villain called King Spider.
Saw him.
He's white and he's got a black spider kind of smushed on his face. I remember reading the comic book that he was in, but I don't remember anything about it. I don't remember how he ties into Spawn's universe. He showed up during a run when Eric Larson was drawing Spawn, and it took a really cartoonish turn at that time. It got away from the dark, serious stuff. So I'm looking at that toy, and I'm like, I don't love the design of that character, and I don't remember if he's even supposed to be important, or was he kind of just a throwaway. So I'll probably pass on him. Same as there's a couple variations of Spawn, like there's Nightmare Spawn, which has these bat wings. And I don't know if I'll get him, because at this point I don't really think he's a character. It's like in the old Spawn toy line of the 90s, it just kept making pirate Spawn, whatever Spawn. And those Spawns weren't really things, it was just him like doing his character in different outfits. But now they've been taking some of those old characters and actually turning them into characters that appear in the comic book. So Nightmare Spawn, I've seen, they put him on the covers and stuff sometimes, but I still don't know if he's actually a character of any importance. And until he really gets a storyline, I don't really care about him.
Right.
So, but the one character in the new line that I am going to get, I pre-ordered him, is Plague Spawn, which he's basically Spawn is already very much like Venom or whatever.
Yeah.
And if he is, I guess you'd say Plague Spawn is kind of like the Carnage. He's like all black. He's got all these tendrils. Doesn't really have much. He's more animalistic. It's a cool looking figure. Not particularly original, but I've been enjoying Plague Spawn in the comic books, so the toy looks pretty cool. But she's falling asleep and she's sliding between my legs. I'm getting a workout here just trying to hold her up.
Yeah.
Anyway. So yeah, anything more on McFarlane?
Nothing that I can think of right now.
Okay. And also, before we get into the Pulse Con stuff, another line that I'm passionate about is Masters of the Universe here. We don't really know any of the 2023 figures coming out yet, but they did just reveal in the last couple of days that Mechanek is coming out, and he comes packaged with the Road Ripper vehicle, which is like a little green dragon, like dragster. So it's fine. I'm sure it'll probably be like a $45 pack. I don't really need the Road Ripper. If it was packaged individually, I would probably skip it, but Mechanek is a must-have. So I'll buy it. Whatever. But yeah, that's really it on that. So now do you want to start talking about some of these Pulse Con?
Sure.
Deals? Okay, I made a list of everything from Marvel and Transformers, because those are the two lines
that you collect.
Yeah, they also did Power Rangers, but I don't care about Power Rangers. And today, after we had this conversation, they're talking about G.I. Joe and Star Wars and maybe a couple other brands. So we might have more news about G.I. Joe and Star Wars later.
Thanks.
The one thing that did, I don't know if they put this out or it just leaked, but one of the things I do know about the G.I. Joe panel today is they announced they're going to add General Hawk and Tripwire to the classified line. Do you know those guys? Any feelings about them?
I don't know too much because it was sort of fizzling out when I became of age, like 1987. I would have been 5, so I think G.I. Joe was kind of on its way.
Well, Hawk is the leader, like the actual leader. I know sometimes it seems like Duke is the leader or whatever.
Yeah,
like those guys are maybe more the field commanders, Duke and Flint or whatever. But General Hawk is the guy that kind of like gives the orders. And so it seems like, it's about time. We're like 3 years into the line now, like that we get General Hawk.
He's the guy that was in the movie, right?
Yeah, Dennis Quaid played.
Dennis Quaid. That's right. Yeah.
So yeah. Now he's had a couple different outfits over the years. I imagine they're going to go with
Combat.
No, because oddly enough, Hawk appeared in the very first wave of G.I. Joes in 1982. He wasn't called General Hawk. He was just Hawk, and he was just dressed in all plain green outfit, just like all the other Joes. He was indistinguishable from them, really. He even had the exact same head and hair color as Short Fuse, so they look like identical twins. But then a couple years later, they re-released Hawk, and they called him General Hawk. And he had brown curly hair now instead of short blonde hair, and he had a brown bomber jacket, kind of like Hal Jordan would wear with the fur collar or whatever. You get all these, medals all over his jacket. So I imagine that's the General Hawk we'll get. But he has come out in other outfits beyond that as well. So who knows what they'll give us? But I'm kind of hoping for version 2 Hawk. But I wouldn't even mind a version 1 Hawk either. And Tripwire, he is the guy that he's the mine detector. He comes with like a metal detector.
Okay.
And
yes, I do know him.
Yeah, he's a cool character from the early days. I think he came out in 83 or 84 originally. So, cool to get him. I kind of hope they don't update him too much, because I do like his classic look. So, yeah. You want to move on to... What do you care more, Transformers or Marvel Legends?
It does not matter to me. I used to have a big Transformers collection and sold it all, so...
All right.
I do have some sort of attachment.
Well, let's talk about Transformers. Okay. And I really don't know if we'll have time to review anything in this episode. Like I said, I have all this stuff. Maybe we'll do a news episode, then we'll start shooting a review episode. But I have some new Transformers. One of the ones that I will talk about is I just got this guy here. This is Clamp Down. Yeah. I know you can't really see him that well. But the funny, he's cool and everything, but when you do go... I went into Walmart the other day and I saw the new wave of Transformers. Mm-hmm. And I wonder how they'll sell, because I don't know how kids feel about Transformers. Do they just see a cool car or a cool robot and say, I want that? Or there's no real media to support this line right now. And the characters that are coming out are all characters, so obscure. Like Clamp Down. nobody knows Clampdown. He's like never appeared in any media, and that's the case with all of the characters in this wave. Like none of them have any established like lore associated with them. They're like weird repaints, and I just wonder if they're going to end up being shelf warmers because kids are like, I don't know this guy. Like I'm glad we're getting the obscure, but
yeah, I mean, I think my friend's little guy is 6 and he loves Transformers, so like he just enjoys being able to transform them or playing with them as a vehicle. It doesn't matter. So, I mean, if they're targeting kids that age or just a little bit older, I don't think it matters. But for like adult toy collectors,
but even like even an adult toy collector, there's probably a lot of guys that grew up with Transformers and they want new versions of Optimus Prime and Bumblebee. But even then, like you have to be a real hardcore guy to know who Clampdown and some of these other guys are. Yeah. That I just wonder if the audience is shrinking too much. Like when I think of the Transformers line as a kid, when it fizzled out, I don't know if that was so much because, for one, the toys got worse. Yeah. And they were trying to do all these silly gimmicks. Or is it because maybe I would have liked those characters, like the Pretenders and the Action Masters and these other kind of weird subsets they did, if the cartoon had continued to support it and those characters got introduced in the cartoon and you liked them. But I think the toy line kind of fizzled out as the comic book and the cartoon went away, because then you're getting these new characters and you just don't care about them. And I don't know if that's the same for kids today. Right. There's no movie, there's no cartoon, there's no comic book that features Clampdown. So does any kid want him? Right. Or is he just a cool looking robot and that's good enough? I don't know. But all that to say, the new line that they showed this year, which is kind of the 2023 toys. So they have changed the name again. I didn't know if they were going to do that because like the last series was like a trilogy where they had Earthrise, Siege, and Kingdom. So that got replaced by Transformers Legacy, which sounded like a broad enough brand. Like maybe they could just go forward with Legacy for a couple of years. But I think they're going to take the same approach because now it's called Legacy Evolution. So the packaging has all got a new banner on it and all that stuff. So the first Legacy Evolution figures are like a character named Scrap Hook, who I don't even know if he's existing at all in any media or if they just made him up. But Wreck-Gar, he's a Junkian. Yeah. Did you see the animated Transformers movie at one point when you were a kid? Yes. Yeah. And they land on the planet of junk, and they all those junky robots, they all talk like TV sets because they. Oh. Yeah. So there was a bunch of Junkions because it was a whole planet. Yeah. They live on the planet. The planet is called the Planet of Junk, I believe, or maybe Junkion, but something
creative.
Yeah. And so Wreck-Gar was the main one, and he was the only one that made it into the original toy line, and he's the only one that's made it into most toy lines.
Was he green?
No, he's kind of orange. They all look kind of rust-colored. Okay. Like, all of them were kind of like that. Anyway, what the gimmick seems to be with Legacy Evolution is they're going to be making more Junkion characters, and you can snap them apart and add them as armor to the other characters. I think that's kind of the gimmick. So Scrap Hook is one of the Junkions, and I imagine we're going to get a couple more of them for the first time. There's some characters from other lines, like there's a character named Hotshot. Know him? Probably not. No. He was from the Armada line, which was kind of a little more kiddie animated cartoon.
Oh, I know the cartoon, yeah.
Yeah. And so this is an Armada character that they're kind of bringing into the broader universe. So I have no personal attachment to him, so I don't know if I'll get him. There was this one I'm excited about is Turn. Mm-hmm. So we've talked about Turn before. And I don't know if I'm happy or because we've talked about the Super 7 Ultimates figures, and they're making ultimate versions of Transformers, which are these big $75 figures in Canadian. They're $55 US, and they don't transform. Right. And they were making Turn, and this is a character from the comic books that I've always wanted for many years, and now we're getting a Turn, and I was like, I'm thinking of canceling all my Transformer Ultimates figures except for Turn, and I was like, I want that figure. So the fact that Hasbro's now making a Turn, like that means I can get Turn for a much more affordable price point because that'll be like a $30 transforming version of Turn, which now lets me off the hook that I could cancel my pre-order of Ultimates Turn. But I was kind of excited about Ultimates Turn, so I don't know if I'm going to get both or if I will actually cancel that pre-order. But anyway, I'm glad to see him in the main line.
Yeah, I mean, you've not been happy with the quality of the ultimate line for Transformers for like the ones that you did get. So
yeah,
I mean, I think if you're going to cancel the rest, it might still be worthwhile to get his ultimate and the.
I might get
the smaller one. Yeah,
I'm not sure which one will arrive first because I think Tarn is in wave 3 of Ultimates, so it's probably a year out.
Right.
And if these things hit early in 2023, maybe if I get this Tarn and it really scratches that itch for me, then I feel like I'll probably cancel them. But if this one is like too small in any way, then I might still get the Ultimate. Anyway. There's a character, again, another obscure character called Needle Nose. He was pretty popular in the IDW comic books, so I'll probably get him. And my wife is calling, so why don't we cut and take a little break. Hello. And we're back. So another character they showed is Breakdown. This is one of the Stunticons. They've been putting the Stunticons out. Yep. One of the new figures I have to talk about is Wild Rider, one of the Stunticons. So, what else? Another character I have to talk about is my Shattered Glass version of Blaster.
Yeah.
And you weren't familiar with Shattered Glass.
I wasn't. So I thought that was kind of a neat take.
Yeah, so Shattered Glass is kind of like the stereotypical like mirror universe where there's like evil versions. So the bad guys are good guys and the good guys are bad guys.
Bizarro world.
Yeah, it's based on this comic book series. So this is Shattered Glass Blaster. So you could, he's normally a heroic character who's red, and now he's kind of like darker tones. So there's Blaster. So one of the new figures they revealed is Shattered Glass Soundwave, which is an all-white version of the evil tape deck character. And he looks cool. However, for whatever reason, in the Shattered Glass comic books, so the Decepticons are the good guys, and they're in hiding. They're kind of like working underground. They're like the rebellion. And Soundwave, so he's painted white. He has a headband on, like Rambo. And I don't understand why. Like, what use would a Transformer have for, like, a sweatband or something like... But he wears that in the comic books, and I figured if they eventually make this toy, he'll probably have that, but I hope it's removable. But it looks like it's sculpted as part of the head. And I just really don't like the sweatband. It doesn't make any sense to me. That alone might be enough for me not to get this Soundwave, but he's cool otherwise, so we'll see. There's a couple of Beast Wars characters, like Leo Prime, which is like Optimus Prime that turns into a lion. I don't really have any attachment to Beast characters, so I probably will avoid the Beast guys. There's also... I always get them screwed up, but there's different sizes of Transformers. Excuse me. And they call them, like, this is deluxe class, this is whatever. I don't remember which size is which. But the smaller size, which retail for, like, $12 or $15, they seem to be growing that line almost on its own now. Like, they've put out... You might see them if you go to Walmart. They have Shockwave, Soundwave, Megatron, all the Starscream. And now all the Dinobots are coming out. So there's a bunch of characters coming out in this, like, mini format. But for me, it doesn't make sense to me. The characters are too small. I guess it's good for, parents that want to buy their kids Transformers but can't really afford these, like, $50 Transformers anymore. So it's nice to have kind of a more budget line, but it doesn't do anything for me. So there's a bunch of those coming out. There's a 2-pack with Alpha Trion and Orion Pax, which is Optimus Prime pre-Optimus Prime, but before he got the Matrix Leadership.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty cool looking pack. It's exclusive to Hasbro Pulse, and it's probably a bit of a premium. The toys are just repaints of the Studio Series Cup and Scourge with some new tooling, new heads and stuff. I don't know if I'll get it. Alpha Trion I don't care enough about, and I already have an Orion Pax figure.
Right.
So, like, if there had never been an Orion Pax and this was the only way to get him, I would want him. But since I already have one that's pretty cool, I could probably pass on that set. And I think that was really it, Transformers-wise. Any thoughts on any of that? Did you even look at the Transformers?
I haven't had a chance to look at it yet, no.
Alright, so when I edit this and I add the pictures in, maybe you'll be seeing them for the first time.
Yeah,
but
maybe.
Yeah, but there's some decent stuff. But I said mostly obscure. Like, even the Optimus Prime is like, you got Orion Pax or Leo Prime. Like, that's not what a kid is expecting when they go to a store wanting Optimus Prime. And then you got characters like Tarn and Needle Nose, who are mostly from the comic books, and, like, kids are going to be like, who are these guys? Anyway, I hope they continue to sell well and everything, but who knows? Alright, So then there's a lot of Marvel Legends reveals. Since I just talked a whole bunch, is there anything you saw that you want to jump in on and talk about first?
I caught a bit of it this morning after you told me they just did a massive toy release. So I was like, oh, okay. Couple things I did see was the Uncanny X-Men wave that they're doing.
So that with the kind of New Mutant style, the black, or blue and yellow.
They had a Wolverine, I believe it was, in that one.
Unmasked Wolverine.
Unmasked Wolverine, which kind of caught my eye. I loved the animated series growing up. So they've recently been putting out the 90s animated series characters in like the VHS style box. Yeah. So they released a couple characters like Cyclops. So he'll be out, which, I mean,
I don't care about the animated cartoon so much. I don't need those toys because they're painted to kind of look cel shaded and stuff, which is kind of cool. But I already have versions of those characters. Yeah. The Cyclops, however, like that animated Cyclops, is based on what people call like the Jim Lee Cyclops, which is probably my favorite version of Cyclops. And I already have a Jim Lee Cyclops in my Marvel Legends collection, but there were some issues with him. Like, I don't know why they did this with a lot of old Marvel Legends, but like he's supposed to have cuffs at the top of his boots and cuffs on his gloves and stuff. And rather than sculpt it to the toy, like they were separate pieces, and the gloves always fall down here, and his cuffs at the top of his boots fall down around his ankles, so it looks like he's little anklets on. It's really annoying. And they fixed that for this Cyclops, so I don't know if that alone is enough to make me rebuy Cyclops, but it might be.
It's tempting.
Yeah.
So those were kind of the only things I really had a chance to see.
You sent the Daredevil set.
The Daredevil set, yes. I'll probably buy that. I was always a big fan of Daredevil growing up, and I don't have a figure of him in my collection. The Elektra looked pretty sweet.
Yeah, like I saw that set, and I thought it was kind of an easy pass for me. Like, it's cool. Mm-hmm. It's Bullseye, Daredevil, and Elektra, kind of based on that like Frank Miller era. So that's cool. Like, those are all great characters. But as far as Marvel Legends goes, I already have Red Daredevil, Black Daredevil. Yellow Daredevil, Daredevil in his 90s kind of armored suit. So I'm well Daredeviled. And then I've got, plus I have the Netflix Daredevil. So I've got like 5 or 6 Daredevils already. Elektra, I've got comic Elektra in red, and I've got Netflix Elektra. This is Elektra in white, which is not really the look I think of with her. So that's kind of an easy pass for me. And I do have Bullseye already. This guy's painted a little different. He's got a blue torso for some reason. I don't like that. And I think, does he only have an unmasked head, or does he have a masked head as well?
No, I think it was only the unmasked head, but on that head, it reminds me of the Quentin Tarantino meme where he's like staring out the window because his face is like angry looking. So he's got that like...
And yeah, like, so it's this unmasked head where he's scowling, and he's got the bullseye carved into his forehead, which... That didn't even happen until the Colin Farrell movie. Like, Bullseye never had that carved into his head in the comic books before. Sometimes he does show up that way now, like they've kind of adopted it into it, but it's not my preferred look for the guy, and it's definitely not Frank Miller inspired. The only saving grace of that set for me that might make me buy it again, and I probably won't just for this alone, but Elektra has an alternate head with big, poofy 80s hair. Which is how like she was drawn back in those early Frank Miller days, and so because the Elektra figures I have, it's kind of like it's more normal contemporary hair, and I like that big crazy 80s hair. That's like, you're familiar with the character Typhoid Mary from Daredevil? Yeah, that's another thing. Like, I have a Typhoid Mary Marvel Legend, but they gave her very like flat hair. When in the comic books, John Romita Jr. drew her, and she had this huge like 80s like fro. And I'm like, she needs that fro. Like, so I would buy another Typhoid Mary if they gave us one with the big hair. So I think that's cool that they're doing that for Elektra. And possibly a good sign for maybe a future Typhoid.
I think for me, the Daredevil figure in that 3-pack was almost a little too plain as well. It just looks like he's painted red with no definition in it. So, I don't know.
again, that's kind of how Daredevil in the comic books looks. I know they've kind of textured him up more.
Yeah, I guess.
But, yeah. So, yeah, that's a cool pack, but I'm probably not going to get it. But there was a lot of cool stuff. You want to just rhyme stuff off?
Sure.
So there's a new version of Multiple Man from the X-Men.
Yes.
Are you familiar with Multiple Man?
Yeah, the blue guy, right?
Yeah, blue or green. He kind of wears his body. It's a pretty dumb-looking outfit.
Yeah.
Multiple Man was cool for a while when he was a member of X Factor and he wore like a trench coat and he didn't wear the tight thing around his head. So I don't know, like that looks more superhero-y than just a trench coat with your hair out. But so I would prefer if they gave us that version of, and I think they have. But anyway, I do have a Multiple Man in my collection, and so this one doesn't really feel necessary. The only reason I would maybe buy it is because Multiple Man is the type of character, like his superpower is that he can multiply, and he's got what he calls dupes, his duplicates. So when the first Multiple Man figure came out, and I think he came with 3 different heads, one with the tight little headgear, and one, maybe 2 with the loose hair. So you could have bought all the figure 3 times and displayed it all different ways and had those on your shelf as dupes. So I only bought the one, but if I bought this one, which is different, maybe I could display them together and just be like, in my mind, like that's just one of his dupes. But it's not, considering the cost of these toys nowadays, I am starting to be like, maybe I should reel it in on some of these duplicates. So yeah, Multiple Man might be a pass for me as well. The animated Cyclops I already mentioned. So yeah, you mentioned Wolverine in the, I don't know what you call it, the X-Men team suit or the trainee suit, the Danger Room suit. I always associate it more with the New Mutants than the X-Men, because all through like the 80s, the New Mutants wore those just yellow and black outfits. So they're doing Wolverine, Storm, which I already have a couple of cool Storm figures. I don't really need, that one doesn't do much for me. But then they're doing Banshee. Mm-hmm. And like I just recently got Banshee's daughter, Siren, and you know she's got that green and yellow with the little cape wings, and people have been like wanting Banshee for a long time, and we finally got him, and I'm surprised they're giving us in that the trainee, the blue and yellow outfit. Like everybody wants the green and yellow because he wore an outfit that was basically the same as his daughter wears. So I imagine they're gonna give us that one in a repaint pretty soon. So I might even skip Banshee. I don't know. It looks good in these colors, but I don't need 2 Banshees, and I would prefer the green and yellow. So that's up in the air. Spiral. You know her, the girl with the 6 arms?
Not too well, but I do know of her.
I think she was in the Capcom games and stuff. But yeah, she's got kind of like samurai helmet, and she carries like 6 swords. Anyway, she's a character that people have wanted for a long time, and we didn't get her probably because the tooling would maybe be a little more complicated. And when we got that 6-armed Spider-Man figure a couple of years ago, a lot of people immediately said, oh, now they can give us Spiral and stuff. So it took them a while, but we're getting Spiral, so that's cool. The Molecule Man, do you know him? Yeah, he's pretty plain looking. He's a guy with a couple like lightning bolts drawn on his face and green and purple outfit. He's boring. I might get him just because he's a unique character, and I like to add as many unique characters to my shelf as possible. But he's a kind of a lame character. I have no really attachment to him. The Orb. Did you see him? He's a guy with just a big eyeball for a head.
Oh yeah, that's weird.
I'm excited for him.
You're excited for him?
Yeah, Orb is one of like Ghost Rider's like classic villains.
Okay.
And so he looks like he's wearing like kind of a Evil Knievel like outfit. It's like it's blue, red, and stars all over it. Like he's a stunt rider, except with just a big eyeball for a head. It's silly. Like I can't imagine having an eyeball for a head and getting like punched in the face. Like
punched in the eyeball.
That would hurt so much. But anyway, the Orb's a fun character. And they still use him quite a bit. Like, he was kind of obscure for a long, long time. But he played a pretty prominent role in... there was a big event a couple of years ago, Fear Itself, or whatever. He was kind of a key character in the Fear Itself. Anyway, so it's nice to see Orb, because he's never had a toy before of any sort, so cool. There's a 90s Iron Man. I think it's mostly a repaint of the Iron Man they put out a little while ago. He's got kind of there's like no mouth on the armor. It's kind of the 90s.
Right, yeah. But
this one comes with a couple alternate heads. It's got an unmasked Tony Stark head with a mullet. So right out of like the early 90s or something. He also comes with again, speaking of Capcom, did you ever, when Iron Man, when he did like the special move, one of his special moves is he pulled out this like giant like ion cannon. With
yes. Yeah.
So he comes with the ion cannon.
Okay.
And so, again, since it's mostly a repaint of a figure I already have, I'll probably pass on that. But some people seem excited about it, so that's cool. Moonstone. You know her? She's a member of the Thunderbolts.
Okay.
And also the Masters of Evil before that. She's a character that's cool to add to my shelf, but she's unfortunately cursed with a very boring costume. It's basically an all yellow onesie with a white diamond on the chest. And that's like the whole outfit. Super boring, but I need her on my shelf, so I'll get her. There's a new Gamora, which I think is based off of maybe the What If cartoon. She's wearing like Thanos' armor. It's a nice looking figure, but I don't really need it. I keep hoping that they'll give us comic book versions,
not movie.
Yeah, because the only Gamora I have in my Marvel Legends collection is one that looks like Zoe Saldana, and that's fine, but like I prefer comic ones. So give me a comic one. And they've done a lot of the Guardians. They've been giving them the short end of the stick of that, because I only have movie versions of Groot, of Rocket, of Drax, and like I want the comic versions of them. And I feel like they've had, they've got a third movie coming out. They've been in all the Avengers movies. They had a cartoon show. Like they're successful. They're popular characters.
It's time.
It would sell if you put out a comic-based Drax or something. So I don't know why they're not giving it to us. And even one of the guys on my list here is Star-Lord. And they're actually giving us a comic-based Star-Lord finally. But they're going like way back. This is like 70s Star-Lord, which is not my preferred look for him. I would rather a little bit more of a contemporary comic book Star-Lord. I'll still probably buy this one, because the only one I have currently looks like Chris Pratt. And I would rather have a comic one. But, it's okay. Avalanche is a character from the X-Men, the Masters of Evil, or the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants.
Do you want to come see Grammy? You want to stay on camera?
She's in the show. She's our sidekick. Okay. So, we just had another interruption. But, carrying on. So what were we just talking about? Avalanche? So yeah, Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. He's sort of like Moonstone in that his costume's pretty boring, which is maybe why Hasbro has taken a really long time to get to this guy. Do you know what he looks like at all? Plain blue outfit, big, kind of like penis-shaped silver helmet, and then like some shoulder pads. He's like, it's very boring. No logo, no.
So plain blue outfit.
Yes. Okay. We're not having much luck here. First, we're getting phone calls interrupting. My wife just came into the room and then my tablet shut off because we said we hit the maximum length of the video, so we had to start again. Anyway, so this video might be a little choppy at times. I apologize for that. But yes, Avalanche. Let's try that again. Yes, blue, silver penis, boring, but essential. Fans have wanted him for a long time, so we're finally getting him. I think the last... So, Long Shot. Do you know Long Shot?
Heard of Long Shot. I don't remember.
He's an X-Men character. He joined the team, like, kind of when I was very young, like, early in my days of collecting comic books. And so to me, he's, like, a key character, even though in the grand scheme of things, he maybe wasn't an X-Men for a very long time. But yeah, he was a character that was introduced in like a 6-issue miniseries, which was a big deal at the time. Like it was drawn by Art Adams, do you know him, and written by Ann Nocenti, I think. And anyway, it was a cool series. I think he was a big hit, and so then they thought, well, people like this guy, let's bring him into the X-Men. And I don't know why it's taken them so long to give us a Long Shot. He joined the team at the same time. Dazzler and Psylocke joined.
Oh, okay.
They were kind of like the new recruits at that time. Anyway, I've been waiting for a Long Shot, and then a couple months ago they revealed that they're going to put out a 3-pack. I don't know if it's a Hasbro Pulse or maybe an Amazon exclusive, but you get Long Shot, Dazzler, and Mojo. Do you know Mojo?
Yep.
He's this big Jabba the Hutt type of character with like mechanical spider legs. He's gross, and he was the villain that was introduced in the original Longshot series. He's from the weird alternate universe or whatever that Longshot hails from. I don't know. Mojo's a weird character. He's a very unique character. But because he's so big, this is one of those multi-packs that I was talking about. Like, so you're getting 3 characters. You'd like to think, okay, well, there's maybe going to be a savings there. But it's actually quite expensive. And now, fair enough, because Mojo is so big. But I was torn because I'm like, I don't need Mojo. Dazzler, it's the best Dazzler figure they've released, and I would like it. But I do have 2 other Dazzler figures, so it's less essential. But I thought, I'm going to have to buy this pack because I need Longshot. And I don't mind having Mojo and stuff as well. So I didn't really want to shell out the money for it. But I was putting it on my Christmas list. This is the thing when Vanessa comes to me and says, what do you want for Christmas? I'm like, that's something that's expensive that I didn't buy for myself. So that was kind of my plan with that. Anyway, now that they're putting out this single-carded Longshot, I don't know if I'm relieved or disappointed, because now it almost guarantees, like, well, that's the character I wanted. Now I can buy Longshot for like $35, and I don't need to spend the $150. But that pretty much guarantees I'm not going to own Mojo now. And I kind of wanted Mojo. So either I pull the trigger and I get the big set and I skip this individual Longshot, or I get the Longshot and I skip the Mojo and the good Dazzler. So that remains to be seen. Then they showed a new version of Strife. Do you know Strife? So he's like, spoiler alert, Cable's evil clone. And they made a Strife figure, I think it was back in 2013. And this is one of those figures that it was kind of like haunted me and annoyed me. Because for years, like when Hasbro took over the Marvel Legends license, because the Marvel Legends, the 6-inch figures, had kind of went dormant. They hadn't been making any figures for a number of years. And then they were focusing on the 3 3/4-inch Marvel Universe figures. And I went all in on Marvel Universe. I have a whole bunch of them. And I was collecting them. And then they brought the 6-inch figures back. And my brother started collecting them because he was never into the smaller one. And he would buy some and he'd show me them. I'm like, those are cool, but I'm not going to... I'm already committed here. And then some of the figures that came out around that time, like there was a Baron Zemo that came out. I was like, that's a really nice figure, but I'm not going to buy it. And then Strife came out. And he's a goofy-looking character, but he's kind of a cool character too. And I remember seeing him at Toys R Us multiple times and thinking, like, Strife is such a kind of an obscure character. I don't know if they'll ever make him in the small scale. So if I ever want a Strife in my collection, I might have to buy this. And I'm like, I hummed and hawed about it, and I didn't end up buying it. And then within probably about a year and a half from there, they stopped making the 3 3/4-inch. I started collecting 6-inch Marvel Legends, and I've been kind of all in on Legends ever since. And then for years, I was like, damn it, I want Strife and Baron Zemo. But those guys both like really went up in price on the secondary market. You couldn't find them anywhere. And as much as I wanted them, they weren't like figures I wanted to pay crazy prices for. I was just kind of like, man, I hope I find a chance to find them at some point. And then earlier last year, I guess, they released a new Baron Zemo figure. So I was able to kind of scratch Baron Zemo off my list, which was nice. And I've been hoping that they would re-release Strife. And so now they're finally re-releasing Strife. And I don't know how new it is. I think it's definitely got some new parts. Maybe it's an entirely new figure. I assume improved. So I can finally let go of that not buying that Strife all those years ago now. And I can finally add him to my collection. Last thing I think they showed was, they just showed the box. You talked about those VHS style boxes. Yeah. Did you see they showed a Spider-Man and Carnage?
I did.
Yeah, so they're going to start doing, which I kind of thought they were already doing with the retro line, toys based on the animated 90s series, but now they're doing the VHS tapes. So I don't know if those are going to replace the retro cards.
I hope not, because I enjoy those retro cards.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't think I need them. Like, they didn't show the figures, but it was Black Suit Spider-Man, who I just got a really nice Black Suit Spider-Man this year. And then there's Carnage, which I already have 2 or 3 Carnages. I don't think the animated Carnage look that much different. No. So I can't imagine I'll need those either, but we'll see.
I just need a basic Spider-Man figure in my collection.
You do.
I'm lacking. One thing they did show a couple days ago was that new... it was the Lab Ghost Rider.
Right.
Which was, I think, $350. I don't have a Ghost Rider figure. He was always one of my favorite characters. Johnny Blaze for me. But he comes with the car. And I'm like, man, I don't need the car.
Yeah. Although one thing, I don't know if you saw this, because they didn't reveal much, but from the... you're into reaction figures more, and I thought we might talk about this. Maybe we'll save it for the next episode. But so, I'm really into the reaction figures, which are the new 3 3/4 retro style figures. So, unlike the 3 3/4 inch Marvel Universe figures I was buying back when they were fully articulated, these are the 5 points of articulation simple figures. So I buy the ones from Super 7, and Hasbro puts out their own line of retro Marvel Legends.
Yeah.
And so I've been buying those. At this Pulse Con, they showed a couple of them. Did you see any of those?
No.
So they showed Dr. Doom, which he looks cool. But they also showed, and I'll show you the image because I actually sent it to my brother, is the a 3 3/4 inch Johnny Blaze with his flaming motorcycle. So I'll put a picture up here for you guys.
I might have to get that.
This would be way more affordable.
Yeah.
Because the 3 3/4 inch guys are about $20 to $25. With a motorcycle, I would say
30?
Probably more than that. But at most 50, because that would double the price of one figure, and the motorcycle's probably. So yeah, I would say $50. But even still, this Hell Charger is $350.
50 American.
Yeah.
Plus shipping.
Yeah, so this would probably be $50 Canadian. If you got that Ghost Rider with the Hell Charger. So this is another one of Hasbro's HasLab projects. I recently backed their His Tank HasLab, where they set a minimum goal. We need, I think this one's 9,000 backers.
Yeah.
So they need 9,000 people to commit to paying the $350 before they'll commit to making it. If they don't hit that goal, then it probably won't happen at all. So I don't know where they are now. I think they were beyond halfway at point. But yeah, you get Ghost Rider. And I was surprised by this because this seems like a bit of a risk because I don't think people know this Ghost Rider very well.
He's the Latino kid, right?
Yeah, because Ghost Rider, he's been around since the 70s. He's Johnny Blaze. That's the guy that they did the Nick Cage movies about. That's kind of the most famous Ghost Rider. But as a kid that kind of grew up reading comic books in the 80s, and Ghost Rider was kind of, his book was already canceled. He was kind of forgotten in the 80s. And then in the 90s, they introduced a new Ghost Rider called Dan Ketch. And he was more, instead of a blue circus jumpsuit, he had black leather and chains. And he's my Ghost Rider. So he has his own huge fan base. So you've got Johnny Blaze and Dan Ketch. And then there have been a couple other Ghost Riders as well. But the new Ghost Rider is this kid named Robbie Reyes. And he drives a car instead of a motorcycle.
A low rider.
Yeah. And if they're making a Ghost Rider with his bike, which they have done in Marvel Legends, but say they wanted to do a souped up bike, I feel like that would have been a lot more appealing to a lot more people and probably a lot more affordable. But they went with the most obscure Ghost Rider that probably a lot of people don't even know or have that much attachment to, and they released him with his car, which is obviously going to be big and expensive. So $350. It looks cool. I like the Robbie Reyes figure. I do like that character. He is a member of the current Avengers team and stuff. I didn't read his solo books, but when he joined the Avengers, I started reading him, and I kind of came to like the character. The car looks cool. It's a really well-made toy with flaming tires and all that stuff. But yeah, $350 American, which is $500 Canadian or something. I can't justify it. And I'm not a vehicle guy. I say that all the time. I would have been more inclined to get the Galactus or the Sentinel because at least those were characters. Yeah. If I get this car, I'm probably going to put Robbie Reyes on my shelf here, plink, and then the car will probably go in storage somewhere. So I can't justify it. However, they've added Mephisto. Did you see that? So with any of these HasLabs, if they hit their 9,000, they'll make it. But if they hit 12,000, they'll give you a free bonus gift. And if they hit 15,000, they're going to give you another free gift. So the only gift they've revealed so far is Mephisto. And he's in the 6-inch scale, which probably means he's about 8 or 9 inches. He's a bigger figure. I don't have a Mephisto. Mephisto is basically the devil of the Marvel Universe. So he's a character that we're very unlikely to ever get at retail. So if you want a Mephisto, this is probably the only way. And so that definitely makes it a little bit more incentivizing. When they first showed the picture of the orb, with the eyeball, I was worried that he was going to be a tier for that, and I was like, oh no, because I really want the orb. Thankfully, the orb is going to be sold separately, so that's okay. But they have teased that some other tiers are coming, and they said they're all going to be demonic based, not necessarily Ghost Rider villains. And one of the ones I've heard rumors swirling around would be the Goblin Queen, which is Madeline Pryor, Cyclops' ex. And I would really like a Goblin Queen. Again, she's another character that probably would never work at retail because she's kind of too scantily clad and all that sort. But like, if they add her, and I'm like, oh man, now I would really want Mephisto, and I really want Robbie Reyes, and I want Goblin Queen. It's like the card doesn't even really factor into the equation for me. It's just like I might have to do it just to get all the figures. The problem being, if they do add her at 15,000, like we're talking not just funding, like the thing has to get to at least the second, third, maybe fourth tier to make it worth my while.
If it doesn't, you're stuck with it.
Yeah, so I was saying I'm not going to even consider backing it until I see that it's at least the Mephisto's unlocked, and then when I see what the third tier is, if it's her or somebody else, cool. Because with the Hiss Tank, I ended up getting like 4 or 5 tiers included. So I bought the Hiss Tank with the driver, which was enough for me.
Yeah.
But then they gave you a second driver, then they gave you a gunner, then they gave you a Cobra Commander, then they gave you female driver, they gave you add-on missile launchers and stuff. I felt like I was getting bang for my buck. This one here,
not so much.
Yeah, like it's a cool car, but I'm not a car guy. I don't have an attachment to that particular character of Ghost Rider as much as the previous Ghost Riders. So, yeah. All right. So, any other toy news, or does that cover everything?
I think that covered everything that I know of and that I saw. Okay. DC-wise, same thing. I mean, that's all going to change tonight anyway. They'll throw out a couple more figures tonight.
No, yeah, wasn't like with the... Just quickly, I guess, knowing that they're going to do Star Wars and G.I. Joe today, so we'll know this in a couple hours, but do you have any hopes of anything they might announce Star Wars wise? Any characters you want to see?
Star Wars wise, I would like to see Chewie come back out, because I started collecting late. Very late. I'd like to see some more of the bounty hunters come out again. So, like Zuckuss and Forlom, I'd like...
Now, what do you feel about... Because I see him I go to Walmart now and I see Forlom, but it's not Forlom. Have you seen this figure?
No.
So, in the Obi-Wan show, I think, when they're running with Leia, there's a Forlom-looking guy that shoots at them on the roof. Yeah. They made a figure of him. And you can find him around. He's readily available right now. And that's the thing, he looks exactly like Forlom. I think he's maybe a darker shade of gray than Forlom.
Okay.
But it's the exact same figure I have up there of Forlom. And so this thing, if you wanted Forlom, you could buy that. Right. But if you're anything like me, in my head I'd be like,
I know it's not Forlom.
I know that's not Forlom. That's 5-Lom or whatever they called him. And that would bother me. So
yeah, I can't do that. I'd love to see an IG-88. I know they have an IG-11.
Which my IG-11's arm broke minutes after I opened them. It pissed me off.
Bosk. He was probably my favorite bounty hunter.
Yeah.
I'd like to see... I know you don't like Ewoks, but...
Well, I have... The only one they've released so far is Tebow.
Okay.
So I have Tebow up there. You see him up in front of Black Kyrgyzstan. So it's, even though I'm not like a huge Ewok fan, I don't need like 50 of them. I would like the 3 other main guys.
Yeah,
like I'd like Wicket, Chief Chirpa, and Low Gray. Those were the ones that were from the original Kenner line.
Yeah.
I want those guys. So yeah, they're not like super high on my list, but yeah, I'm surprised they haven't done them yet. And I would appreciate if they sold them maybe as 2 in a pack. Because I really hate paying full price for a little R2-D2 or something. So if they give you Wicket, the small Ewok, he should be packaged with something pretty cool to justify, and ideally it would just be another Ewok. But yeah.
2 more, actually. I don't know if you're familiar with the Shadows of the Empire video game for the N64.
A little bit.
Dash Rendar.
Yep.
I would love to see a Dash Rendar figure. I love that game. I used to read Star Wars fiction when I was a teenager, so
yeah,
I was really into that series, the Shadow of the Empire series. The last one would be probably one of my favorite aliens, the Pickle Head or Egghead, I guess, from Mos Eisley Cantina, the little flute guys.
Okay, like, I think they made them.
What?
Maybe not, they might not be out yet, but I think their names are like Barquin Dan and stuff. I think that's what those guys' names are. And yeah, and I think you can get a pack with the different instruments, maybe one figure with the different instruments.
Interesting.
But yeah, I think those figures are coming out soon, if not already. Yeah, I'd like one of those guys too. But the thing, I don't know if I could justify buying it 5 times to have all the different instruments.
Right. No, I just buy one and hey, there we go.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, there's nothing I'm really hoping for Star Wars other than more of some of the original Cantina monsters. Like, probably my top ones would be like Hammerhead or Moma Nadon. Squidhead, which is actually a Jabba's Palace guy. But yeah, some of those old classic monsters I'd really like to see done. So we'll see what they reveal. But yeah, there's not much I'm really looking for there. Same as G.I. Joe, I'll pretty much take whatever they reveal. Like Hawk and Tripwire is cool. I saw an image floating around online of, I don't know if this is just complete rumor or somebody just guessed, but like the eel, the Cobra Eel, which is like the Cobra Frogman.
Yes, okay, yeah.
Like he looks like something that maybe is rumored to come out, and like that would be awesome. So yeah, any figure. Like I love G.I. Joe, and there's so many characters that they still need to do. So yeah, whatever they give me.
I was telling you before we started filming about Serpentor, so he's one of the only figures I remember having as a kid. Like I said, I was born in 82, so it was kind of late getting into the G.I. Joe. I think it was starting to fizzle out at that point. Mainly like the cartoon and everything. So I remember having him specifically, and the rest of my figures, because it was past my time, came from a parent's friends. So every time we would go up to visit them, their son had a massive G.I. Joe collection, probably not this big, but he had a ton of G.I. Joes with duplicates and everything, so they would always give me one when I'd go up.
Nice.
So yeah, I'm kind of looking forward, minus the...
And Serpentor, like, so he's the Cobra Emperor that wears all gold Cobra outfit. And I love Serpentor as well. I think it was a really cool storyline in the comic books. I don't know if you know his origin and all that sort of stuff. So they killed Storm Shadow in the comic books. And I can't remember if Storm Shadow died in the cartoon as well. It was only temporary. But basically, Dr. Mindbender decides to build a new Cobra Emperor because Cobra Commander's too inept as a leader. And they go and they raid the tombs of all the greatest leaders in history. So Genghis Khan, Attila the Hun. And they take all that DNA, plus Storm Shadow DNA, and they build Serpentor. And that's why he's this like ultimate Cobra ruler. And he has a cool look. The storyline was cool. But I think for a lot of early Joe fans that got on in like 1982, Serpentor was one of the guys where they jumped the shark, and that's when they got off. They're like, I can't handle this guy dressed as a gold Cobra. It's silly. But I was still young, and some of that silly stuff still worked for me. So Serpentor was cool. This figure, I think it's going to be a Hasbro Pulse exclusive. It's probably not going to be easy to track down because I have so many Joes on pre-order right now, but I still don't have... I haven't locked in a Dr. Mindbender, which they did as an exclusive a couple of months ago, and you had to pre-order it through a very short window, and I missed it, and I'm kind of hoping that eventually they're going to make it available again, or maybe a non-deluxe version, because this one came with a whole bunch of accessories. And I'm hoping the same with Serpentor. The fact that he comes with his flying chariot is cool, but I don't need that. So if I miss that version and then they release a single carded version without the chariot, I'm okay with that. But we'll see.
So the original toy
came with the chariot.
And it was gold?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I know you can't see it right now, and I can't... But it's between, on my bottom shelf, we've got an orange and a red Hiss tank there. I've got the Serpentor chariot right there. So I can show you it when we're done filming.
And then oh, sorry, continue.
Yeah, that's all I really have to
say. My big ask is I want a Destro. I want a Destro.
But there is a Destro.
There is, but he's hard to track down. And
okay. But there is a new, like, because I got the retro carded Baroness, and the retro carded Gung-Ho. There's a retro carded Destro. So that's either going to be showing up at Walmart. I don't know if we'll see it around here, but you can buy it on Hasbro Pulse like right now. So Destro is available to you.
Oh my god! I've seen them on Amazon for like $80. I just can't do that.
No, yeah, he's regular retail on Hasbro Pulse.
Perfect.
Okay, so we should try to wrap this up. My wife is trying to get us to go up to her dad's to have a beer with her, and anyway, so we'll do that. We planned to do a second episode, but now I guess we're not going to do that. Last thing I want to talk about here, since we're saving our reviews for next time, is I spent some money today, which I wasn't.
I always love hearing these stories.
I know, I wasn't thrilled about it because I have a whole bunch of stuff on pre-order. Earlier this week we were talking, because I got an email from Big Bad Toy Store that said, your Snake Eyes pre-order is going to be in stock this week, so make sure you have enough money on your credit card because we're going to charge you type of thing. And I was like, oh geez. Because this Snake Eyes, I already have 4 different Snake Eyes in the G.I. Joe Classified line. One of them came with his wolf, Timber. So I already have Timber too. So this is what they're calling this Snake Eyes version 2, but really it's version 5 or 6. And it's Snake Eyes, the exact same figure I already have twice, with a slightly different paint job, and then he's got his wolf Timber also painted slightly different. So it's just it's a new paint deco on this figure, and they might have tweaked some of the parts. Like I noticed he has laced boots now instead of the other one, which is just more of a slip-on. So I don't know if they changed other parts, but anyway, they're minimal changes. He's got some new accessories.
That new scarf, man.
He's got a scarf. But I was thinking, they're going to charge my credit card $60 for this thing in a couple of days. And I was questioning, do I really need to get this? And then my wife, my wife's been asking me, can we go down south this spring? So it's okay, so I need $2,000 for a trip, in a few months. So I'm like, shit, I've got to start saving money somewhere. So I canceled my Snake Eyes. That was painful for me to do because I'm basically a completist when it comes to G.I. Joe. So to cancel that doesn't mean I'll never get it. But I was thinking I don't need it now, and maybe if it goes on sale later, I'll get it. And maybe I'll even buy it at full price later, but I just don't need it immediately. So I canceled it. I also went and I canceled a bunch of other pre-orders on my Big Bad. So I was gonna curb my spending a little bit. Then I got an email this morning from the Four Horsemen.
Oh, God.
So this is a toy company, Four Horsemen. They do the Mythic Legions figures. And those are really great figures. We talked about some Mythic Legions a couple episodes ago. And I said in that video that I think these might be my last Mythic Legions figures. And people have been commenting, writing on them with video, why are you not going to buy these? You gave them such a good review. What? And my justification is they're beautiful figures, but they're expensive. And I just don't have any nostalgic connection to them because they've never had a cartoon or they're not from my childhood. So they're works of art, but they just don't bring me the same joy that a He-Man or a Spider-Man does. So I think I was going to let them go. But around Christmas time last year, they did a similar thing that they just did today. They did a surprise drop. They're like, hey, it's the holiday season. For until they sell out, this figure's only available for one day or whatever. It's a Krampus holiday themed figure. Yeah. And I remember being oh shit, this is going to sell out super quick because Mythic Legions do.
Yeah.
And I'm if I think on this too long, it's going to be gone and I'll never get it. So I remember I grabbed my credit card and I bought the Krampus figure without even really thinking about it, and I got him. So, cool. I got my Krampus, done and over with. Anyway, today, I woke up, I look at my phone, check my email, an email from the Four Horsemen that says, we have a new holiday-themed figure going up for sale today. It's only, till supplies last. And by the way, it's sold out now, as of this moment. So I got on there and I bought it. However, I didn't need this thing. It was the last thing I needed to deal with right now because it was expensive.
Yeah.
Because we've talked about my Mythic Legions, and when we did our review together, I was reviewing my second horse.
Yes.
So I already have a demonic horse, and now I have a vampire horse. Yeah. And I had a third horse on pre-order, and I was enough with these goddamn horses. They're too big. I've already got 2 big horses right here behind me. I don't know if you can see, but this is a horse right here. So I've got 2 He-Man horses. I've got She-Ra's horse and Bo's horse, and I've got these 2 horses. They're so big for 6-inch figures. They take up so much room and they're expensive. And I don't even like horses. They're okay, but they're not in my top 50 animals.
I had a pony.
I hate anybody that's ever owned a pony. So anyway, yeah, horses just don't excite me that much, and I have more than I need. But then this figure came out today, and he comes with a horse, and it kind of makes sense. And I'm like, well, I kind of would need it. But
can I guess? Is it Sleepy Hollow?
It is.
How did I know that?
And it is super cool.
Ichabod Crane, I should say.
Well, it's the Headless Horseman.
Yeah.
So
I would have also done that.
Yeah, so it's the Headless Horseman. He comes with a jack-o'-lantern that he can wear on his head. And he comes with a big black horse. You can see the other pictures if you scroll over, I think. But again, I woke up, I was still hazy from sleep, and I'm like, this thing will sell out probably within the hour if I don't pull the trigger on it. And I'm like, this is going to cost me like $200 Canadian with the shipping and the conversion and everything. I'm like, I was not planning on spending $200 today. I just canceled a bunch of pre-orders to save myself some money. But again, they don't give you time to really mull it over. So I pulled the trigger. And I don't know, will I regret it? I don't know. It's a really cool looking figure, though.
I would support that decision.
I would probably have more regrets if it was sold out now and I didn't buy it, and I would have been like, oh shit, I could have. That's like 2 weeks worth of comic books. I could have bought it. Anyway,
as soon as you said Halloween, I was like,
yeah. So that's my last bit of toy news. So this was a one-time drop. Hopefully, if you wanted one, you were able to get one. If you didn't, there might be hope in that maybe they'll re-release it with a different paint deco or something sometime, because that's what they did with the Krampus. They said, we're never going to re-release the figure again as is, but then a couple months later they released it in red instead of black. So people that wanted a Krampus were able to get one. So yeah, if you want this, hopefully maybe they release it in gray instead of black or whatever. But anyway, it looks cool. It's definitely, as soon as I saw it, and they're shipping it now. They're like, they did the same with the Krampus. Usually Mythic Legions, you have to wait like a year or to get them because it's always made to order. But these ones, because they want to surprise people, and like last time it was for Christmas, this time it's for Halloween. They're like, these are in stock. We're going to start shipping them next week for anybody that orders it.
Surprise!
So as soon as I saw this thing, I'm like, that's a potential like best of the year list. Yeah, that's so I'm like, I think I have to buy it.
So how long would it typically take them to send you yours?
I imagine, like they said on their website, that they want to make sure everybody has these before Halloween.
Okay.
So it's October 1st as we sit here. So I'm in Canada. I wouldn't be surprised if I maybe don't get it before Halloween. I don't really care about that because it's not like I'm going to display it for Halloween. But I think if that's their objective, it's very likely I'll get it this month or within the first week or two of November. So I'll have it in my hands very soon, which is something I'm not used to when you learn about a toy for the very first time. Like all these toys we're talking about here, it's going to be months, if not years, before these figures come out. They're 2023 figures. But yeah, to see this guy for the first time this morning, and I'm going to have it in my hands in like a couple of weeks, it's kind of exciting. It's kind of fun. It doesn't happen often. Anyway.
I can't wait to see that.
Yeah. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. It was a little choppy. We didn't get to talk about everything we wanted to talk about because I had toys to review here. But we'll be back, with another episode soon enough. So thank you very much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. And what else?
Comment, for sure.
Leave those comments. And yeah, that's it. Until next time. Ciao. What do you got?
Keep collecting.
That's a good one. Yeah. Keep collecting. All right.